On tech, TSMC has delayed their chip fab in the US, all thanks to a labor shortage. Replaceable batteries are coming to cell phones in 2027. Twitter is to rebrand itself as X as soon as Monday. And Pokemon are listening to your farts. All that and more coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's when we order this, the guys on Tech Guy. I'm Eagle Falcon. This is gonna be an interesting week. This is gonna be a very interesting week since it appears that we are on the cusp of Twitter making a very big decision. We'll get into more details on it, but there's a decent chance that by the time this podcast actually airs, that Twitter's name will no longer be Twitter. And it's something we've known was going to happen, but it very much looks like it's imminent. In the meantime, though, we are going to go ahead and actually get to an update on a previous story, this being on the Intel NUC. Intel is no longer working on the NUCs. These are the micro PCs that are roughly the size of a modern router nowadays that have basically mobile parts in it, and you can go ahead and upgrade it with like RAM and storage and whatnot. It's basically the Mac Mini, but for PCs. And in a lot of cases, actually smaller than the Mac Mini, because the Mac Mini decided that it needs to be roughly the size of both of your feet. Why? I don't know. I thought mini meant small, but you know, apparently Apple decided that mini means the size of your face. But I digress. Intel said they were no longer going to develop on the NUC, and well, fortunately, that form factor is continuing to work because Asus has now officially stepped in and will in fact be supporting the Intel Mini NUC PCs and going to be working on redesigns in the upcoming future. Honestly, this isn't very surprising at all. Asus is kind of that brand that they want to do everything, and they're actually doing everything fairly well in hardware. For example, they actually have a pretty good mid to high-end smartphone that's pretty much ticks all the boxes. You want a decent camera? It has a decent camera. You want to have some premium features like optical zoom and whatnot? It's got that. You want a headphone jack? It surprisingly has that. You want expandable storage? Well, Asus had to not give you everything somewhere, and that's where it was. You want USB-C? It's got USB-C. You want a good screen? It has a good screen. It's a pretty decent phone when all's said and done. They have pretty good laptops, both small, thin and lights, and gaming laptops. You want PC components? They got PC components. The only problem is that Asus's tech support is very lacking. Their customer support lately has been very lackluster, but if they work on that, they are like a really solid company to be doing this. So here's hoping that this ends up being good. And quite frankly, even if the Asus NUCs end up being terrible, let me tell you a deep dark secret. You are still going to find plenty on the used market in the form of Dell Optiplexes and HP Elite Towers, or whatever the heck they call their Pro Towers nowadays. Because man, the professional space, the office space loves these NUC form factors. I said it last week and I'm going to state it again. If you are looking for a basic PC, you want a basic desktop, you're not doing any sort of high-end gaming, you're not doing anything that like requires some serious horsepower or anything like that, you just want a desktop for Graham to go ahead and browse Facebooks and get Neopets that may or may not be coming back, the Optiplex Nooks are perfectly fine for that. And honestly, with the way integrated GPUs are going, you probably can actually get away with some light gaming on it too. It's kind of nuts what's going into those thin-end lights nowadays. So, I mean, this is honestly a good thing. Even if you are one like me that really, really, really does love to have an absurd amount of power and performance inside your desktops and your laptops. Because I'll be perfectly honest, there's times where I don't want to go ahead and lug out the 17-inch mobile workstation frickin' 1 hour of battery life desktop or laptop. I don't mind just going ahead and just bringing out a small little 12-inch thin and light just to go ahead and just do some chill stuff, you know? It is something that is necessary from time to time. But anyway, that's enough good news. Let's get to some bad news. Let's talk about Reddit. So, Reddit has Reddit is sending a statement. There's no other way to say this, okay? Reddit first kind of flipped off the third-party community by jacking up the API rates so high that some apps were going to be charged millions of dollars per year to function. And many of those apps just shut down because they just simply cannot afford to run on it. And then when the community protested this, Reddit then made it their prerogative to go ahead and say, you know what? No. We don't care about you. And began to ban moderators that set their subreddits to private and just did everything they could to bust the protest. You know, not exactly the kind of behavior that really strikes as community friendly, which is stunning considering the fact that Reddit's about the most community driven thing there is. So with all this chat of all this nonsense going on, what is Reddit going to be doing? Well, Reddit decided to take the nuclear bomb approach to cleaning its history and said that they're going to go ahead and purge everyone's messages that were pre-2023. Do I have to go into detail as to why this is quite possibly the worst thing they could have done? So first off, this is a terrible look because you're trying to go ahead and whitewash all of the protesting away, for starters, all right? There's that aspect of it. But also, let me tell you the real value of Reddit, all right? The real value of Reddit is not in talking about the here and now. Talking about the here and now is nice, but it's not. What Reddit is for pretty much every single hobbyist community is an archive of problems. For example, I can actually give you a real life example. I am holding here in my hand that you can't see because this is an audio podcast, a Dell H310 RAID controller. In fact, I have 3 of these. I'm holding 2 in my hand, one of which is suspect. The other is dead. And then there's a third one that actually is working in the server. But I was able to figure out what was going on because of past Reddit posts saying that a lot of people love to flash the BIOSes on these and specifically have them behave in very specific ways. I was unable to diagnose the problem going on with my server if it weren't for an old Reddit post from back when these servers were relatively new, way back in 2014. 9-year-old messages still being used to this day to make sure that hardware that would otherwise see the landfill able to be kept alive because of old messages. So tell me, Reddit and your decisions, why have you decided that you're going to go ahead and take this nuclear bomb approach and absolutely decimate your real value? Well, that's fine, Eagle. I'm not a super tech head like you that is silly in the head and decided to go ahead and have a cloud server in his own living room. Okay. Admittedly, my use case is very niche. Not everyone wants to go ahead and have a enterprise industrial grade rack server in their dining room. That's abnormal. But swap that out with anything. Well, swap it out with something not tech related. It could be about a cell phone. It could be about playing cards. It could be about tricks and tips to win at poker or mahjong or frickin' chess, checkers. Name anything. Design tips. All of it. Gone. Thanos snapped out of existence, which you couldn't see or hear because my microphone can't pick up a snap. And it's an audio podcast. You can't see me do this. Oh, wow. You actually heard that one, though. Whoa. That was impressive. I can't get it to pick it up now, though. Huh. Weird. Anyway. This, if it is in fact strictly to purge all the dissent about the decisions made on Reddit, this is literally, not figuratively, literally lopping off your foot to trim a toenail. This is a terrible decision, and I'd say Reddit's not going to do this because they have more sense than that. But then again, Reddit has shown nothing but signs of being absurdly self-destructed. Almost more self-destructive than your average emo teenager. Reddit needs to not go through with this decision. It is not healthy for its survival. There's no other way I can stress this. But who am I kidding? I'm one guy in the Midwest. If they're not going to listen to their own moderators, if they're not going to listen to pretty much every single third-party developer that relies on them, why on earth would they listen to one tech enthusiast who lives in Cheeselandia? So, I mean, Reddit users, I hate to break it to you, Reddit's going to suck. And Reddit's going to suck even harder as time goes on, as Reddit insists on making itself an irrelevant web. They're going to make themselves more irrelevant than when Tumblr decided to ban porn. Like, that's how big this decision is. It's almost, well, actually, I'd say this is bigger than this, but we have to shift gears somehow. Let's instead talk about how Roblox had a data leak and, in fact, practically doxed 4,000 of their developers. Man, Roblox is such a weird system. There's no other way to really say this. They are just bizarre in the way they function. But man, somehow I'm not surprised by this. I mean, as much as you hate to say it too, are you really surprised that Roblox, the company that profits off young developers and children, just accidentally whoopsie doopsied 4,000 developer profiles and all that information is now public? This will be interesting to see if there's any action done by the developers to go ahead and seek any kind of compensation for now that information just being out in the wild. I would certainly hope so. But at the same time, you know, a lot of these Roblox developers, they're not exactly seasoned companies. They're all small developers. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're just like, oh, we've been doxxed. I guess we can't really do anything about it, because none of them really have the know-how of what they can do about it. But I do hope everything works for them in the grand scheme of things. In the end, all we can do, wait and see how it all goes down. Now, while the chip shortage has been basically solved, there is still going to be fabrication plants for new silicon chips opening up in various parts of the world, one of which being here in the US, not here in Wisconsin, but here in the United States. TSMC, the Taiwanese manufacturer of silicon chips, is in fact going to be opening a plant here in the United States. In fact, they are going to be opening it in, what was it, Ohio? Everything's in Ohio. All states shall become Ohio. No, Arizona, never mind. Oh, phew. You can't let Ohio get more powerful. It is going to be opening in Arizona. Unfortunately, there is a problem. It is going to be delayed in opening until 2025 because of a shortage of labor. The jokes write them. This is nuts. This is actually nuts. We can't. I mean, these are high-paying jobs. There's no other way to say it. These are incredibly well-paying jobs. The only problem is that there's just no one skilled enough, and also those who are skilled enough are still just like, no. Nope. Not gonna do it. There's also the concern that the reduced demand in PC components is also playing a role in the delay of TSMC opening this thing up. You see how it all kind of just goes back in a big old circle? All right. Why are PC component prices, why are PC components in low demand? Well, because a lot of people went ahead and upgraded their PCs during the pandemic. Okay, well, those people who didn't upgrade, why are you not upgrading now? Well, you see, A, my PC is still working fine, and also B, the cost of components for the PC have increased by anywhere from 75 to 300%. Yeah, we're looking at you, NVIDIA. Still not thrilled with that, the fact that the entry-level card starts at $500. We're going to get to them more later on, too. This is all just kind of piling on top of each other. Even though the pandemic is essentially over, and I want to state that, it is essentially over. Is it still here? I mean, COVID's still around, but it's barely affecting anyone because what is still around isn't as deadly, and yada yada yada, and all that sort of jazz or whatever. But we're still feeling the effects of it. The damage it has done to everyone's way of life is still hitting us to this day, and it's still having these ripple effects everywhere. For everyone who thought everything would go back to normal in the snap of a finger. Wow, it actually picked it up that time too. No, it's not going to do that. How did I get it to pick it up? Well, that time I just hit the microphone. There we go. Anyway, now my fingers hurt. Anyway. It is kind of a shame to see TSMC get delayed yet again in all of this. Because these are some well-paying jobs that could be life-changing for some people. But it is what it is. All we can do is wait and see how things go. But at least in the meantime, the VR space is doing things. I mean, there's an update on the Microsoft HoloLens. That's got to be good for someone, right? In fact, the Microsoft HoloLens is giving improved combat goggles to the Army testers later this month. The newest update in it is that the AR headsets for military use will be less nausea inducing. How long has this been going on? How long have these HoloLenses been in development? Like, we were teased on this how long ago? 2014, 2015? It's got to be almost a decade later. And the latest update is that it makes people sick less. These things are barely ready to support a VR chat freaking watch party, let alone actual military use. But I mean, you do you, Microsoft. Maybe that's why they're buying Activision Blizzard. They want to go ahead and use Call of Duty to help improve the HoloLens somehow. Oh my lord. Meanwhile, though, in the other side of the VR headspace, Meta's got to be up to something, right? Well, it turns out that Meta has in fact made some big moves for the Oculus Quest Pro. In fact, the Oculus Quest Pro, which was going to be a $1,500 standalone headset, its development has stopped. There is no longer going to be a Quest Pro, and there's not going to be development of a Quest Pro 2. Whoa. So, what's going on, Facebook? Are you suddenly a little worried about the $3,500 Apple Vision Pro? That thing got you a little scared? Are you worried that the Quest Pro is not going to live up to the hype? This is very interesting because they're now going to go ahead and almost virtually leave that standalone space. They're giving it to Apple, and Apple's going to have it basically at the start of 2024. And it's going to be the only device of its kind because nobody is going to be insane enough to spend just shy of $4,000 on a VR headset. But then again, I thought no one was going to spend $7,000 for a cheese grater, but if there's one thing I've learned, Apple fanboys will go ahead and shell any amount of unreasonable money at anything with an Apple logo on it. Anyway, if any Apple fans want to buy a broken Dell H310 that I can stick an Apple sticker on it, 10 grand. It'll be one of a kind. It'll be the only Dell H310 with an Apple sticker that I put on it. But it'll have an Apple logo on it. Thus, Worth it. It even has aluminum. Look at the massive aluminum heatsink on it that you can't see because it's an audio podcast. But I assure you, it'll have an Apple sticker on it, and thus worth the 10 grand. And I'm sure Johnny Ive had something on it that may have been designed by someone or something. Dang it, how do I get rich quick? I'll never know. Now, while Meta, or aka Facebook, is working on all of that, they are working on their large language model. For those who don't know what a large language model is, it's what we call AI nowadays, except AI is kind of dumb. But we still call it AI anyway, because we're kind of dumb. Meta first showed off Llama, which was their first large language model, and it was kind of okay. But the problem is that the entire source code leaked. They leaked everything about Llama 1. So naturally, they went ahead and developed Llama 2, Electric Boogaloo, which will be a new language model that they're not going to leak this time for realsies, that will be open for commercial applications. Ah, yes. You can now go ahead and replace your writing team with Llama 2. In fact, you could call yours Carl, because nothing bad ever happens involving a llama named Carl. Nothing bad ever happens. Now look, these large language models, this AI thing, it's all fascinating. It really is, and actually is much more capable than I would have predicted. But I'll say this much. You're going to be able to tell the companies that replace writers with AI. You're going to be able to tell who goes ahead and uses AI. Because every company so far that has used AI has had to have a human, an actual physical human, look over what the AI does, which thus raises the question, why did you do this? You didn't need to do this. You shouldn't have done this, but you did it. Or the moment they give it all over to the AI and have no oversight, you start getting things like that diet hotline telling people to kill themselves when their diet failed. By the way, if you're not on the up and up, suicide's bad. If you actually do have such thoughts, please contact the suicide hotline and get help. Do not listen to the AI telling you to do it. Do not look when the AI is giving you worse advice than 4chan. It's time to stop. I'm just saying. We'll just have to wait and see how Llama 2 goes ahead and works, but I'm just telling you, I have a very low bar and a low set of expectations for this. But we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. We're going to take our first break here. When we come back, fines are on their way to Meta, as well as Apple threatening to pull a lot of services out of the UK over other law changes. We will be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. All right, Meta is in it again. Who's really surprised? I'm not surprised. If you were wondering, I'm not, you know what, actually, now that I think about it, it's been a while since we've had Meta being fined for a large number for data violations, but here we are again. Facebook being fined for $100,000 in Norway for data violations. Seriously? That's it? The Norwegian regulator said that, oh, it's so clear what you've done is illegal. Oh. Now, what this is in regards to is something that Norway calls behavioral advertising, where, quote, Meta tracks in detail the activity of users of its Facebook and Instagram platforms. Users are profiled based on where they are, what type of content they show interest in, and what they publish, among other. These personal profiles are used then for marketing purposes. So-called behavioral advertising, which is now illegal in Norway. To which I say, dude, Norway, first off, $100,000 to Facebook is like $10 to me. It's not gonna matter, like, at all. It's not gonna hurt anything at all, period, bar none. All right, there's that for starters. Second, are you gonna go ahead and then enforce this on Google, Apple, on half the internet, on most of the internet, actually, for that fact? Dude. Behavioral advertising, as they're describing it, is like the bread and butter of how the internet advertising works. It is why advertising on the internet is as attractive as possible, despite the fact that outlets like YouTube, for whatever reason, still felt it important to advertise Spanish Chromebook ads to me. It's still a weird one to me. Like, I wouldn't, it'd be one thing if it was like normal TV. My television has no way to know I don't speak Spanish, or that I'm never gonna buy a Chromebook ever. What's Google's excuse? I've never searched for anything in Spanish. Anytime I go to Google to translate anything, it's to English. It has never, ever been to Spanish. And it's a Chromebook ad. It's Google themselves. There's no excuse, and they do it. I'm sorry. I still can't get over that. It blows me away. But yeah, $100K to Meta. Come on, man. You gotta try better than that. At least go ahead and do something like actually have some teeth to it. For example, in the UK, they are putting in some changes to surveillance laws, and apparently the change is so great that Apple is threatening to pull FaceTime and iMessage out of all of the UK. For those of you on Android that don't understand how big this is, this would be like Android pulling out of the ability to text in the United Kingdom. Like, iMessage is the application that does text messaging on the iPhone. You would not be able to send text messages without iMessage on the iPhone. FaceTime, I mean, there's no real Android equivalent. FaceTime is just like omnipresent on the iPhone, whereas on Android, yeah, we have a video conferencing tool, but nobody uses it. Mostly because people who use Android are normal, and we prefer to just make phone calls. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I just live in a very boring part of the world. Is it really common for Android users to just go ahead, take out their phone, go, ah, yes, hello, and freaking carry around their phone like they're on a constant selfie? Actually, you know what? Suddenly, a lot of the selfie sticks make a whole lot of sense. Huh. Maybe I underestimated voice calling on Android and iPhone. Or video conferencing, I mean. Anyway. Although, actually, now that I think about it, someone in chat says they never use FaceTime. They're too shy. You know, actually, I just realized something. Because the iPhone has that depth sensing camera, right? You know, the thing that pretty much makes all of VTubing possible at any sort of acceptable level. And also, they have those horrifying emojis. You can totally FaceTime as a horrifying emoji monster VTuber. Is that what's going on? People FaceTiming to their parents as a horrifying emoji panda? Oh my god. Anyway, I think we're now fully sidetracked. The whole proposal is in regards to having the investigatory powers of the British Parliament able to disable features like end-to-end encryption without telling anyone. Yeah, as much as I don't like the idea of Apple threatening to pull out core functionality of their phones across the entire United Kingdom, it is very difficult for me to side on the UK government on this. That's kind of huge. To completely disable end-to-end encryption without telling you is basically the equivalent of someone unlocking your front door and being allowed to sneak around your house, listening to whatever they want without being seen, detected, or anything. That is the real life equivalent of what disabling end-to-end encryption basically means in the electronic world. And that is incredibly invasive. Incredibly so. And it's difficult for me to side with Apple to say, yeah, disabling all iPhones from being able to send and receive text messages is pretty harsh, but I guess I gotta kind of side with Apple on here, because to try and fight extreme invasions of privacy like this, you really do need to send a strong statement. And of course, the thing is that this isn't it's not like Apple went ahead and just launched this out publicly as their first response to this. I guarantee you there have been long and hard talks with Apple lobbyists inside the parliament to prevent this act from getting to the point where it is now. I'm assuming there have been talks for years, or probably just a year, that this has been in the writing phase. So we're just gonna have to wait and see how this goes, but my iPhone users across the pond, it might be time to switch to Discord. Just so you can send messages of some kind. There's probably better answers that don't result to going to WhatsApp. Just don't do that. Now, while there is bad legislation across the pond, there is some good legislation across the pond. And this one I had a hard time kind of getting on the side of the regulation, just because regulation, that I'm normally against regulations. I hate the idea of a governmental body telling me how to live my life. I hate it. But sometimes, you know, depending on the situation, it might be necessary. For starters, the EU is going to be mandating that smartphones have user replaceable batteries by 2027. We have been talking about this. This has now fully passed. This is going into effect. This is now actually happening. It's no longer this is in the pipe work, it's being talked about, it might actually happen. This is now happening. So what does this mean? Well, for all you youngins out there, back in the day, you actually could very easily take off the back of your phone, and inside there, you'd be able to see plastic housing and whatnot, and you might even be able to see a bit of metal that makes up the antenna line. But more importantly, you could actually access the pouch battery, pop out your battery in case the phone hard locks itself, and pop in a new battery if the old battery begins to die. On a smartphone, the first thing that will die, assuming you have taken good care of the phone and haven't dropped it like a complete klutz, not that I've done that twice, the first thing that will die is the battery, because the battery is consumable. It will lose its life over time. There is nothing you can do to make a battery last indefinitely. It will eventually die. You can do things to make circuitry last indefinitely. There are things you can do to make pretty much every single other component last indefinitely, but not the battery. The battery will eventually die. This is going to be coming back. Now, if we can get expandable storage in the form of SD cards to come back, and if we can get headphone jacks to come back, all of a sudden, some pretty good value phones could be coming back, even though an SD card is remarkably slower than the onboard flash. But hey, progress would be progress. I, for one, would welcome the ability for some of these phones that call themselves professional TM to just have a micro SD slot so that you can go ahead and shoot video and whatnot, have it be stored in the SD slot, and just very easily plunk, plunk, pop it out of the phone, pop it in whatever video editor you're using, bing, bang, boom. It's kind of silly that these phones that want to try and say they replace professional cameras, or rather enthusiast cameras, I should say, but there's no removable storage at all. It's silly. Dude, you can shoot 4K on your iPhone. Cool. How am I going to get 4K video off it? On the Wi-Fi? Off the USB 2 cable? Yeah, it's kind of silly when you say it out loud, huh? Now, keep in mind, this is only for the EU. It's yet to be seen if we're going to see that same design language translate over to this side of the pond. All we can do is wait and see what ends up happening. And I think I actually have do I have my things out of order here? No, I do not. Okay. All right. So we talked about last week how Microsoft and Activision Blizzard won their case against the FTC. The last we heard, there was only one other body, and that was the CMA. And the CMA showed signs of buckling. So I initially said that this is basically a done deal because the CMA is going to buckle like they've already shown signs of buckling, and this is basically done and done. Yeah, much like my calls in video games, it turns out that it was called way too soon because, in fact, the CMA is still against the deal, but they have agreed to delay the appeal and to kind of put things off a bit, and they're going to still go through with the case. So the last hurdle for Microsoft and Activision Blizzard to get together is, in fact, going to be the UK's Competition and Markets Authority. That's right. All of you Blizzard fans that are looking for anyone to come in and replace the guard that's in there because they are absolutely awful at their jobs are going to have to wait a little bit longer. This battle isn't over yet. But you might be thinking, but isn't there a deadline coming soon? Weren't Activision and Blizzard supposed to merge by July 18th? Or Microsoft pays out like billions of dollars in a fine to Activision? An agreement has been reached to delay the deadline all the way to October 18th. So that has been postponed as well, because if that fine did go through, there's a decent chance the deal would just die right there. As then it would just start becoming just too much trouble and... So what else does this mean? All right. We see more and more signs that the deal is going to happen. This is almost inevitable. I still say that it's inevitable. I think this last house of cards in the what is it? The CMA is going to crumble. Because think about it this way, all right? Do you really think that Microsoft and Activision are going to lose a whole lot of sleep about losing the UK market? It'd bite. But I think they're willing to go ahead and play this game of chicken. Because right now, they stand alone. They're going to fall. This deal is going to go through. I am very confident in this. And we're probably going to get the news that, in fact, yep, it did in fact happen as we expected. In fact, one of the last holdouts, the one that was being very, very aggressive in trying to influence governmental bodies to stop the deal, that being Sony, have in fact caved in and signed a 10-year deal between Microsoft and Sony to allow Call of Duty to be guaranteed to be cross-platform with the PlayStation 5 and beyond for the next, I said 10 years, right? Yeah, it's a 10-year deal. So without Sony putting pressure on the... I already forgot the name of it. I've been saying it all day. The CMA. I seriously doubt the CMA is going to frickin' stand firm on trying to block this deal as hard as they can. Especially since their argument involves cloud gaming. A segment of the market that nobody is happy about. The only people that are excited for cloud gaming are pretty much people who develop for cloud gaming. Actual gamers going ahead and wanting to use cloud gaming, they don't. They use cloud gaming because they have no other choice at the time, or just want to go, oh, I want to see how this thing is. Wow, that was bad. That's pretty much where cloud gaming is right now. So, yeah. The deal is going to go through, and, well, let's, before we actually get that far, there is one last thing to deal with. The FTC did, however, put in an appeal. There is still that. So that means the fight's not done yet, right? Come on, Eagle. You're talking about how it's all at the UK. The FTC is still in this. They're putting an appeal. They're going to go ahead with it. Yeah, no. The FTC has actually already withdrawn its appeal before it was even reviewed. They have suspended their administrative challenge. There is still a chance it could be refiled. But again, here's the thing. What was the FTC's argument? The FTC's argument was that it was going to directly hurt Sony. Sony has now come to the table and signed a deal to guarantee Call of Duty will be available on the PS5 and beyond. Heck, even the Switch is going to get Call of Duty, for better or for worst. So what's the FTC's argument here, besides the fact that they have shown how hilariously out of touch they are with the gaming space and have no idea how anything works? No, they went ahead and did the smart thing, and hopefully they will focus their efforts where it's actually needed. So no, the deal is going to go through. Just in time, too, because, of course, we should look at how things are going for Blizzard right now. Activision right now is... The Activision side's doing fine, other than, you know, doing Activision things and somehow getting away with doing Activision things. Actually, Activision is doing less Activision than normal. They actually reopened all their servers. Remember how we talked about that? All of a sudden, a whole bunch of older servers for older Call of Duty games that were basically considered dead. All of a sudden, their matchmaking's now re-enabled. It's actually very unlike Activision. Who's running Activision? Is Santa running Activision? Anyway, over on the Blizzard side, it's how do you say it? Messy. World of Warcraft is currently in a content lull, but surprise, surprise, that's how MMOs work. They're just up and downs in content. Diablo decided to nerf a whole bunch of their stuff and then release the first season, to which there have been mixed reviews. But let's look at Overwatch 2, because if there's one example of just blatant greed in all of this, you're either going to look at Diablo Immortal, which I really don't want to do because Diablo Immortal actually makes me cry, or you look at Overwatch 2. So how is Overwatch 2 doing? Well, their player base is dwindling, and they've actually now admitted their player base is dwindling, to which we'd say, no, you don't say. The one major selling point of Overwatch 2 has been killed and instead replaced by basically Overwatch 2 promised us a massive, juicy ribeye steak in the form of the hero mode, the story mode, the campaign mode. You call it whatever you will. But it was a big, juicy, meaty, well-seasoned, medium rare steak. It was glorious. Even enough that someone like me, who kind of put Overwatch out of my mind long ago, would actually consider signing on board just to try it out. And instead what we got was a single strip of beef jerky. We got no story mode at all. Instead, we're getting PvE missions that are still multiplayer. And if you don't have enough players, you'll get AI bots to help you instead. and you're getting it in small little strips at $15 a piece. I forgot that part. Before you were promised a free steak. Now you have $15 jerky. Thank you, chat, for reminding me about that part. That was the most insulting part. Well, Overwatch is trying to figure out, how do they salvage this? How do we go ahead and fix the damage we've done as Overwatch developers? Well, they did the best they could. And by the best they could, I mean, I don't know what it is. They decided that Overwatch 2 should come to Steam. Ah, yes. That's what was missing from Overwatch. It was the fact that it wasn't on Steam. Yeah, I wasn't willing to try Overwatch before, but now that I don't have to download that stupid battle.net launcher, man, now I'm sold. Look, I'm just a random guy in Wisconsin, all right? I'm just some random tech enthusiast that enjoys cheese. But holy cow, the way that Overwatch is running itself into the ground is embarrassing, and I could do a far better job of managing this team than what they're doing. First off, their insistence on a 6-week development cycle is asinine. It is beyond stupid. They need to go to either a 2 or 3 month cycle. Second, you promised a PvE mode. You need to go ahead and say, hey, you want to go ahead and have all these sort of this, that, and the other thing? We need to go ahead, put everything into a holding pattern. All right. Just focus for now, a small portion of your team, cosmetic skins, and just little this and that's to fill your battle pass. Personally, I would just axe the battle pass entirely. Battle passes are terrible, but they do make a stupid amount of money. I would almost just go back to just a regular cosmetic cash shop. I think that would probably just be better, both for the state of the game and also to try and give less of a look that you're a predatory, money-grubbing, soulless company, which, granted, Activision Blizzard is, but you need to try and go ahead and give some illusion that you're not that. That's what I would do. Then have the majority of the team focus on big releases. And I do mean big releases. And you can go ahead and sell them as DLC, but let's be perfectly honest. Would you pay $15 if you got the whole story campaign? If you got a good, solid 40, 50 hour campaign hero mode. You're more likely to do that than you are pay $15 for a freaking solo mission. That's what I would do if I were them. But here's the thing. They're not going to. They're going to continue to go ahead and go down this path of trying to use battle passes to trick people into paying way more than they should. They're going to go ahead and just kind of continue to release half-baked, half-hearted heroes with almost no story to them whatsoever. They're going to continue on just re-releasing the exact same missions they have in the past with a slight twist on them and call it new content because they're on this stupid time crunch schedule. They are on a path to self-destruction, and launching on Steam is going to do exactly nothing to help stop the bleeding that they're in. Though maybe the name Overwatch 2 is already dead. Perhaps the better way to go is, instead of trying to breathe life in Overwatch 2, God, I don't know. I was going to say maybe do another sequel. But man, doing another sequel just after the failed launch of Overwatch 2, I think that's probably going to be even worse. God, what do you do? The more I think about this, the more and more I think they're just hosed. Oh, God. How do you just, like, a Realm Reborn Overwatch 2? Someone in chat says their art team is amazing, but like everyone but the execs are amazing. It's definitely a leadership issue. Unlike Diablo Immortal, where it's a both an executive failure and a director failure. God, how long until Overwatch 2 just eats itself? Because here's the thing, like someone in chat says it's basically a cash cow, that it'll just like run itself forever because you got so many people that are suckered in for it. I'd say yes, except we've been seeing all these live service games with the exact same model fall left and right. I don't think it can be a self-sustaining cash cow. Then again, I thought the same thing about Doom Eternal, and that is still going stronger than it has any right to. I'm thoroughly depressed. Let's take a break here. Let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about Xbox Live going away, as well as the state of GPUs. That'll be more hopeful, right? Right? We'll be back. We'll be back. There we go. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. This is an interesting one, and I'm not sure what it means just yet. We are actually seeing the end of an era in Xbox gaming. Xbox Live Gold, which was their top tier paid subscription for online services, and you also got free games to try and compensate for that, is going to be going away and replaced with what's called Game Pass Core. This will be launching in September 14th, and I'm not really sure what it all means or what is going to be changed. Now, it's going to be coming with a list of included games, and I assume just by the name Core, this means that there's going to be a tier higher than Core. Games included will include Among Us, Descenders, Dishonored 2, Doom Eternal. I don't know why, but I saw Doom Eternal and I got worried that meant Diablo Immortal for some reason. But anyway, Fable Anniversary, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, in case you hate yourself, Forza 4, Gears 5, Grounded, Halo 5 Guardians, Halo Wars 2, Hellblade, Soana's Sacrifice, which I most likely mispronounced, Human Fall Flat, Inside, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Psychonauts 2, State of Decay 2, and the Elder Scrolls Online, Tamriel Unlimited. Those are the list of games that I have mispronounced and stumbled across several times during the reading of it just now. So, is it just a change in the name? Are they... I don't know. I'm not sure entirely what this all means, other than it looks like Xbox, what was the name of this? Game Pass Core is going to be $10 a month or $60 a year. Someone in chat who is more familiar with the Xbox Live services than I said that Ultimate will still exist. Who knows if that means it's going to get a name change. We're going to have to wait and see how... oh, actually, there's a very helpful thing in front of me right here that says everything here. If only I read. But basically, Core is going to be the base one for consoles. That's going to be online console multiplayer, catalog of 25 games, and member deals and discounts. There's going to be a console tier of Game Pass that's going to be $11 a month. That includes, quote, hundreds of high quality games on console and new games on day one. There's a PC version that is $10 a month. That is hundreds of high quality games on PC, new games on day one, and member deals and discounts, and EA Play membership. When did Microsoft make a deal with EA? When did that happen? This is what I get for being so focused on Final Fantasy and Sony. I miss Microsoft making a deal with the digital devil. And there is also going to be Game Pass Ultimate, hundreds of high quality games on console, PC, and cloud. New games on day one, membership deals and discounts and perks, online console players, and EA Play memberships. Oh, someone in chat said it was when EA decided to kill off Origin. I forgot that happened. I completely forgot that EA killed Origin. Man, that really did just like sail over my head as a big old oh no. Anyway, back over to the other news. But that is the big change going on in the Microsoft world. We'll wait and see if that means anything else is going to change. Meanwhile, let's talk about the GPU space. Right now, in the space of PC GPUs, here's what you have. You have the NVIDIA lineup that is almost completely filled out right now with the 4000 series. And the only ones that are actually affordable are basically the same amount of performance per dollar as the previous generation. And even the previous generation felt a little too expensive after all of the chaos that was the pandemic pricing finally calmed down. Keep in mind, the 3000 series, when it initially launched, the pricing looked really good. And then the chip shortage happened thanks to the virus TM, and the pricing went wild. And then after the pricing calmed down, we were still left with the 3000 series costing exactly 2 kidneys for the best GPUs. Then the 4000 series said and went, hey, you know, if you're willing to give up both of your kidneys for a GPU, let's continue that trend. And then we turned to AMD to go ahead and save us from the absolute kidney robbing nightmare that is NVIDIA, and they gave us flagship GPUs in the 4 digits. It was better priced, but 1.5 kidneys is still unaffordable to, you know, everyone. Fortunately, however, there is rumors that the launch of the RX 7800 and 7700 GPUs are coming next month, with an RX 7900 to follow that will apparently be a very low-key launch, which is kind of weird for this GPU, and actually makes me wonder where the pricing is going to fall for all these GPUs. And maybe I've just been talking about this GPU cycle way too much. Maybe I've just been doom scrolling through all of the tech blogs for way too long. I have no faith that the AMD GPUs are going to be priced significantly lower than their NVIDIA counterparts. Maybe I've just given up. Maybe AMD will prove me wrong. Maybe, just maybe, these GPUs will be priced in a way that actually forces NVIDIA to actually try and be competitive, rather than know they have us and just continue to try and squeeze us out like a sponge for every cent we're worth. Because that's pretty much what the PC space is right now. It's terrible. I hate it. I cannot express how much I hate it. I hate the current space of computer part picking for graphic cards more than I hate the state of Activision Blizzard right now. And that's saying a lot. That's how bad this is. So I ask you, oh no, I beg you, please, please AMD, undercut NVIDIA, and I don't mean undercut them by $20. Undercut them something fierce. Show that you really do care about the consumer as much as you say you do. Because right now, the GPU market space is so absurdly overpriced. It is an obvious bubble, and something needs to pop it, because this is stupid. And unfortunately, it looks like NVIDIA is not gonna be able to pop the bubble like we hoped they were going to. So AMD, you gotta do something. You just gotta. Now there is some hope. All right. Now that I've absolutely depressed everyone, there is some hope. This news actually is pretty big. There is no official review program for the RTX 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte edition. Do you realize what this means? There is no review program for this GPU to be reviewed. This GPU, the RTX 2060 Ti 16 gigabyte edition, that is already a massive mouthful, that already is using one of the most hated marketing tactics ever in using an already existing model number, but just adding that little bit at the end saying, oh no, it's a different card. See, it's got a little bit of different RAM, which then inevitably means that the performance is radically different. NVIDIA is so ashamed of this card and how well these cards are doing. They're so ashamed of the performance of this model tier. They are not sending out review samples to reviewers or sending out any guidelines on how the cards should be reviewed. They want the launch of this card to be as silent as possible. That is incredible. For a beast like NVIDIA that we thought we couldn't touch, that us as gamers were effectively every single budget gamer right now is boycotting NVIDIA as much as they can, simply just on the grounds that they can't afford what NVIDIA is putting out. I'm rocking a 1060 right now in my gaming PC. That is what? That is 3 generations old now. And that's a mid-tier card. And that's what I'm rocking in my dedicated gaming PC that I use for production for streaming. As a tech enthusiast, granted, a tech enthusiast that doesn't have a whole lot of money, I'm in the exact target market to go ahead and upgrade to a 4060 or even to an old 3060. Just something to get out of an aging card that will soon no longer be supported. I can't afford this nonsense. A 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte for $500? My 1060 was $200. We are, whether intentionally or otherwise, absolutely shaming NVIDIA for their pricing market on this, because this GPU is a joke. It is an absolute flop. And the fact that they're doing everything they can to bury this GPU and not even try to promote the blasted thing. Heck, there are reports last week that third-party add-in boards weren't ordering many of this GPU at all to go ahead and make. This launch might as well not even exist. And the fact that we're even talking about this is insane. So does this mean that price drops are in the future? Is some sanity going to come to the GPU market? Maybe. It's quite possible. Maybe even probable. I have high hopes. but I cautiously have high hopes for what is to come. But another tech acquisition, great news. Corsair bought Drop. Drop being a manufacturer of various mechanical keyboards that exist. Neat. Anyway, Google apparently has been disabling internet access for thousands of its employees. This is apparently in an attempt to reduce the risk of various cyber attacks. Ah, yes. You can't get hacked if you don't have internet. There's your modern problems require modern solutions brain at work. Seriously? Oh, I'm sorry. You can't work today. You're on the rotation for not having internet today, so you get to work without internet on your Chromebook. Have fun. Is this real? Is this a real thing that's actually happening? All right, well, I guess that's that. They will still have some internet access, but it's restricted to only Google-owned websites, meaning that they're only going to be able to use basically Google Docs and their internal services only. Well, that's not good for employees. Is there anyone that can top Google? There is someone who can top Google. Hold My Beer, Amazon says, as they are leaking out surveillance footage of their van drivers. So, let me tell you something. All right. It is not uncommon for commercial vehicles to have a dash cam. They use this for insurance purposes. And in fact, for a while, this is starting to get some backlash in the commercial world, but there was also a dash cam pointed back at the driver. There was a big pushback on this in the commercial space because, well, a driver-facing camera, you could justify, says the alertness of the driver. In the commercial space, a backwards-facing camera also looks into the driver's living space, considering the fact that a commercial driver, the majority of them live in their truck for large chunks of the road. I mean, behind that seat is basically their small little apartment. That's their bed, it's their resting place, it's their fridge, it's their microwave, it's everything. It's an invasion of privacy. And that was eventually put to a halt to, because they're afraid of exactly this happening. Of all this footage that's supposed to be used internally and only in case of accidents, well, it's all leaking out. And now all the weird stuff that's been going on is now out there for anyone to see. Folks, I'm pro dashcam. I am very anti driver dashcam for this exact reason. I personally am fine with a camera looking at me. I'm very comfortable with it. Obviously, I would not be in the stream profession if I wasn't. But holy cow, the thought of a camera staring at me 24/7 while I'm driving, which wouldn't be 24/7. I don't need that kind of pressure, especially if I'm trying to go ahead and meet a very tight schedule like you do at Amazon. So enjoy the black eye, Amazon. I'm not going to say it's what you deserve, but man, it makes working for you very difficult, at least in the logistics side of things. But of course, we can't talk about bad companies until we look at XAI. What is XAI, you might ask? Well, XAI is Twitter. Or at least it will be very soon. XAI was actually formed a while back. I hit the wrong button. And its goal is to understand the universe, head, of course, by Elon Musk, and also a number of other people who have less credentials than Elon Musk on the team, because, of course, Elon Musk made this entire site to stroke his ego. Yes, that's me, the push to go ahead and push the X Corp and all of this and the soon to be X company towards their mission of something. But in case you thought that this is just a pipe dream, it's not going to happen. Well, here's the thing. Elon did announce on Twitter on Saturday that the Twitter brand and all of the markings of the Twitter bird in general will be going away and being replaced with X. Let me tell you something. This is bare basics when it comes to brand management, okay? When you have a successful brand, you want to do everything in your power to keep that brand alive. Okay? Now, when you see a brand start to fail, you try to go ahead and change your brand and change your image. We see this with Facebook. Facebook went ahead and remarketed itself as Meta and tried to go ahead and push its image more towards a VR world, thus called the metaverse. All right. That was a move that makes sense because the Facebook brand was toxic. It was considered unusable. The Twitter brand, however, was successful. The concept of Twitter itself may not be totally successful in a lot of people's eyes, but it was in fact a successful media platform, though its moderation needed help, a lot of help, in fact. In fact, it was pretty bad at it, and what it chose to moderate was very questionable at best. It wasn't a perfect platform by any means, but it was a successful brand. And despite the fact that Elon Musk does his best to try and kill the Twitter brand by making very questionable decisions in managing the day-to-day operations of Twitter, it is still, at this point, somehow a successful brand. So why would you abandon the brand? By abandoning the brand, you essentially guarantee that any growth will stop. And the thing is, in the social media world, if you're not growing, you're dying. Being stagnant is just as bad as losing viewers, users, or whatever. You need to keep growing. You need to keep generating new users because there's always going to be a small fall off, and that helps you stay stagnant at the very least. You always need to grow. Everyone's heard of Twitter. It's not hard for an influencer like myself to say, hey, if you want the latest updates, I totally update regularly on Twitter, even though I don't. Make sure to follow me there. You can generate new users that way. No one is going to go ahead and say, hey, follow me on X. Even the name is awful. You know the last time you ever heard of something called X? It's either the X-Files or the villain company in the failed movie Food Fight. Is that really what you want yourself to be associated with? Frickin' black and bland brand X? Someone in chat says the X-Men. All right, real talk. Why have we not gotten like a recent X-Men movie that wasn't focused on Wolverine? Like, seriously. Anyway, sidetrack aside, it doesn't have the same ring. Brand perception is everything, and just saying X, the fact that Elon is surrounded with so many yes men and they're just going to go ahead and go along with this X is, someone in chat says Xfinity. Oh yeah, that's a good one right there. Yeah, Xfinity. Here's a pro tip. Make sure your name is as far away from any other name involved with a with an ISP as possible. Yeah, triple X. There we go. Good job, chat. Let's talk about the subdomain for all porn. This whole thing is stupid. This is one of the stupidest things I've seen Elon do. Is it going to kill the platform? Short term? No. Is it going to help the platform? No. This is not going to help anything. And before people go, I think, Eagle, you greatly underestimate the charismatic power that Elon Musk has. Here's what I say. That's a very good point. Here's my counterpoint. Literally who? Seriously. Literally who actually thinks Elon Musk right now is a charismatic character that isn't already blindly following him? The guy continues to make himself look like a bigger and bigger fool every day. If anything, he is losing blind, dumb as a box of rocks followers that can be. Especially since the only thing he had going for him was just trying to get every single environmentalist to believe that his way was the only way to save the entire planet, even though now, yeah, everyone's catching up to him in the electric car game. While Tesla has been sitting there twiddle its thumbs, and the only thing Tesla is going for it right now is their charging network. But hey, there is some good news from Tesla fans. If you're a Tesla fanboy, you know, I still got you on one thing. For one thing, I still got you. The first production Cybertruck has been built. You can see everyone in the factory is so impressed with it that they did everything in their power to hide everything about the truck and make it so that all you can see is the the windshield, parts of the mirrors that are now there, and not much else. They did everything they could to just block the thing. Hey, at least someone's out there is going to be able to have their N64 steel cage machine rolling down the streets. These things are going to be such a freaking eyesore. I'm just going to tell you this right now. All right, Tesla truck owners, the ones that are delusional, the ones that believe that that we're all jealous. No, we're not. If anything, we're disappointed because you had the funds, you had the 50 grand or so to afford such a vehicle, and you wasted it on a pickup truck that is mislabeled in its category, unable to tow what it needs to because the blasted truck is way heavier than it actually is, with a bed that is too small for it, and has build quality question marks surrounding it, on a classification of vehicle where build quality is one of the reasons you buy it. Where you could have bought a Rivian, an F-150 Lightning, or basically any other electric vehicle that is about to come out either from Chevy or Dodge, because they both have an electric pickup truck coming out imminently. But instead you went ahead and bought the most unpickup truck like pickup truck that ever was because you thought that it would make us jealous. We're not jealous. We're disappointed in you, and now we know that you are an absolute moron who instead thought, yes, I need a vehicle that has fewer polygons on it than the buggy from Final Fantasy VII for the PS1. You're stupid, and we're not jealous. We feel sorry for you. Everyone looking at you is not looking at you with envy. They are looking at you in disgust or complete and utter confusion as to why you would make such a stupid purchase. You think I made myself clear enough? You think I'm still going to get people in chat telling me, oh, you're just jealous of the Cybertruck and you're totally going to get one? The funny thing is that when it first came out, I said I would consider it what the final version is because there's no way what showed up on the stage was going to be it. Now it's 6 years later. Now the F-150 Lightning exists. Now the Rivian exists. Between the two, I'd probably go F-150 Lightning, to be perfectly honest. Rivian is a very close second. Cybertruck? Not even on the radar. I don't know about the rest of you. I just find it amusing that every single employee wanted to go ahead and put themselves in front of the pickup truck they spent 6 years trying to make. Moving on, though, we have the Chinese government trying to compete with NVIDIA, trying to make a CUDA-capable GPU. So what is CUDA? Long story short, CUDA is a type of GPU core that NVIDIA uses, and in professional applications, you specifically need CUDA. It is one of the reasons why NVIDIA cards are sought after so much more than any other GPU in the professional space. So now the Chinese government, trying to be completely independent from the West and the rest of the world, they're going to go ahead and try to make their own NVIDIA card with blackjack and hookers. In fact, they're just gonna, let's be honest, they're just gonna steal all the schematics for an NVIDIA card and just put their own branding on it, which they already did with many other things. Would anyone be surprised if China just launched like the GTX 1060 and just engraved a different logo on it and said, we've invented our own independent CUDA core? Yeah, okay there. Yeah, chat points out it's licensed technology. Aw, that's adorable. You think that would stop NVIDIA or stop China? Yeah, no, it's not going to stop them. It's just more China just showing just how arrogant they are in all this. But enough of those kind of stories. We need something stupid, to which I give you, ladies and gentlemen, the last burb, the last story of the day, the weirdest story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, Pokemon Sleep is a phone app that now exists. And, well, it's an interesting concept. I still don't know what to think about Pokemon Sleep. It is an application that reads how you're sleeping and lets you get unlockable Pokemon based on how well you sleep. It's a very weird attempt to gamify something that a lot of people actually monitor as a health benefit to themselves. But then, of course, it is just a game as opposed to an actual health app, which doesn't surprise us at all to find out that the Pokemon Sleep app is recording your farts. Ah, yes. That was the feature we were missing this whole time. I needed Pikachu while I slept to hear my farts. Now, the reason this is happening is very simple. In order to detect how well you're sleeping, it needs to hear if you snore at night, because that actually is a sign that you're not breathing properly and could be a sign of far bigger sleep issues like sleep apnea. So the fact that you might actually get penalized if you fart at night, even though that doesn't affect how you sleep at all, honestly is just kind of sad in that regard. But realistically, I'll be perfectly honest, if the whole point of it is to see how well you sleep, why don't you just have your phone in a different room? Wow, you slept really perfectly and soundly. I didn't hear a thing. Yeah, I bet you didn't. I bet you heard nothing as you charged in the basement far away from where I slept. But you know what the worst part about this is, and the reason why it is a last burb story, is I guarantee you someone out there is getting a little too much joy at the thought of having their digital Pokemon listen and smell their farts while they sleep. And that in itself is just super, super bizarre. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening. And I do encourage you to check out my other stuff. You can find my YouTube at youtube.com/Eagle Falcon, and also check out my Twitch page at twitch.tv/Eagle Falcon. Got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff still planned for the YouTube page. Just still waiting on parts for Render server, and I think I'm just gonna have to admit that I'm just gonna have to change how I'm doing everything without the server. Take care, and hopefully we'll see you then. Good night, everyone. Good night. So I gotta ask, is there now just like a folder within the Pokemon app that just has recorded snores? All of a sudden you just have it, and right next to it is just a big old wet. Will eventually the app be able to sort out between wet farts, sharts, and light squeaky ones? I just want to know, are we actually going to go ahead and fix the part where it records our farts, or are we just going to embrace it and just let Pikachu just smell all of the farts? Or are we just going to wait until the inevitable data leak where all the farts are just leaked out on the internet all at once for all to hear? Just how far is this rabbit hole going to go?